Hello everyone. So till now we have seen that what is disease, how a disease can be identified on the basis of symptoms, signs and various pathological tests performed, and you have also identified the causes of diseases and the mode of transmission of diseases. And why we have done all this? Because one thing is sure, that when there is some disease in the body, this disease has to be treated. In order to design a proper treatment for a particular disease, it becomes necessary to identify the cause of disease and to give the proper treatment against that disease. So if you look at the principles of treatment of disease, so in that case, every treatment involves the two steps. First step here is decreasing the effect of disease, or you can say minimizing the symptoms of the disease, and this kind of treatment is known as symptomic treatment. And the second principle or second step of every treatment is killing the pathogen of disease or preventing its growth. So, for every treatment of disease, there are two steps involved. The first step, the first of all, is to minimize the symptoms of the disease, or to decrease the symptoms of the disease. That is known as symptomic treatment. For example, if you are suffering from viral fever, you may be having a high body temperature, you may be having body ache. So immediately some medicines are given that can bring down the body temperature and that can provide you relief against that body ache. So this kind of treatment which we use here is, this treatment involves the use of the medicines, and these medicines, they give you they give you immediate relief, immediate but temporary relief. Right? And on the other hand, there is minimizing the effect of the pathogen, or killing the pathogen, or preventing their growth in the body. For that purpose, we are given some specific drugs or medicines that are responsible for killing that particular pathogen. Now this pathogen may be bacteria, may be virus, may be protozoa. Accordingly, we can have antibacterial, that is antibiotics, or antiviral, antiprotozoan, and so on. So here we talk about the antibiotics. So what are antibiotics? Initially, these antibiotics were derived or extracted from some microorganisms, and again were used against the microorganism. But nowadays, these antibiotics can be partly or wholly synthesized in laboratories also. So how we define antibiotics? Antibiotics are the chemicals that are partly or wholly synthesized in laboratories to kill or to stop the growth of bacteria. So these antibiotics, they either kill the bacteria or they stop the growth of bacteria. And you must be knowing that the first antibiotic which was extracted from the fungus Penicillium notatum, and that antibiotic is penicillin, which was extracted by Alexander Fleming. So how do these antibiotics work? They stop or block the important pathway of the bacteria. So they stop or block the important pathway of bacteria. The pathway, of course, which is not shared by the host cell. For example, some of the antibiotics, they stop the cell wall making property of bacterial cell, as the human cells or animal cells do not make cell walls around them, but bacteria, they make cell wall around them. So in that case, these antibiotics, they prevent the bacterial cell from developing a cell wall around them. So cell wall, which acts as a protective covering. Now as the bacterial cell is not having that protective covering, is not protected and finally killed in the body of the host. So based on their activity, the antibiotics are of two types, and these two types of antibiotics are, first one is bactericidal. These are the antibiotics that kill the bacteria, whereas others are bacteriostatic. They stop the growth of bacteria. They do not kill, but they stop the growth of bacteria. In this way, the antibiotics, they act against bacteria. Similarly, another important pathogen which is responsible for causing various diseases is virus, but it is very difficult to synthesize antiviral drugs. So what are the difficulties with synthesis of antiviral drugs? So the first important difficulty associated with that, viruses don't have their own biochemical pathways. As you know, viruses are the connecting link of living and non-living. So they do not have a well-functioning body. They are having singular RNA surrounded by a protein coat, and they utilize only the cells of the host body. So as they don't have their own biochemical pathways, so it becomes very difficult to synthesize any drug against them. And the viruses use the machinery of human cells or the host cells. So in that case, giving some bad effect on viruses means indirectly giving a bad effect on the host cell also, that can damage the host cell also, which makes again synthesis of antiviral drugs difficult. And the another one is the RNA of virus shows quick mutation. So it undergoes changes very quickly, and again in that case it becomes very difficult to synthesize a drug or to design a drug which is active against viruses. And these are the difficulties associated with the synthesis of antiviral drugs. But despite all these difficulties, still number of antiviral drugs have been made, and nowadays it is possible even to keep the HIV infection under control with the help of these antiviral drugs, right? So till now we were talking about the principles of treatment of disease, but it is better not to fall ill rather than to fall ill and then get the disease treated. So in order to prevent us from getting sick, now we talk about the prevention of disease. So as it is a very well known fact that prevention is better than cure. It is better not to fall ill rather than to fall ill and then to get the disease cured, because there are a number of factors. First of all, disease may not be completely eliminated from the body, or may leave some effects on other body parts. That means there is a huge possibility that somebody if falls ill, then there is very little possibility that that disease is completely removed from the body. It always leaves some side effect, especially if we talk about the long chronic diseases. Another thing is, person remains bedridden, and daily activities are disturbed. If the person remains bedridden for even for some period of time, in that case, some of his or her very important activities, daily life activities may get affected. For example, if you take the case of yourself, in case of students, it may happen that you may miss some very important lecture, or you may miss some very important exam, like that, right? And if disease is there, there will be a treatment, and sometimes the treatment is so expensive that treatment may increase financial burden on family. Even sometimes very well-to-do families, they face lot of troubles in bearing with the expenses of treatment, because sometimes the treatments may become very expensive. And of course, the patient may act as, or you can say patient acts as important source of infection to other healthy members. That is, you can say the possibility of spreading the disease increases due to presence of this sick person. So, keeping all these things in mind, now we can say very well that it is better to prevent the disease rather than having a disease and then get the disease to be treated. So, if you talk about the methods of prevention of diseases, all the methods of prevention of diseases may be categorized into two categories. There is one which is known as general method of prevention, and the another one is known as the specific method of prevention. In general method of prevention, we try to develop all good healthy activities which makes our immune system strong so that it is capable of fighting with the pathogens easily and we don't have any disease in future. So, if you talk about prevention of disease, there are two ways. One is general method and another one is a specific method. If you talk about general method of prevention of disease, first of all, what we all should do, we must develop a strong immune system. And in order to have a strong immune system, what is required here is we must all have a healthy, balanced diet so that we get all the nutrients and our body develops a strong immune system. Then another thing which is important here is the personal and public hygiene and proper public facilities. Then exercise and physical activities, right? So, in order to keep you healthy, to not get infected by any disease, the most important thing is to have a strong immune system. And in order to have a strong immune system, you must have a healthy, balanced diet. And personal and public hygiene should be maintained. You should wear clean clothes. You should keep your house clean. You should take bath regularly. You should cut your nails regularly. You should wash your hands before and after the meals. You should wash fruits and vegetables properly before consuming them, and all. A long list is there which almost are known to you. Public hygiene means ensure that your surroundings are clean, there is no stagnant water in your surrounding, there is no garbage dump in your surrounding, so that there are no mosquitoes, no flies, no pathogens are there. Proper public facilities, the area where you are living should not be very much crowded. It should have a proper clean supply of drinking water, etc. And of course, we should take regular exercise and physical activities to keep ourselves fit and healthy. And when we talk about the specific method of particular prevention of particular disease, then we talk about a process that is known as immunization, or also known as vaccination. Immunization or vaccination is an artificial way of strengthening our immune system. It is artificial method of strengthening immune system by injecting dead or weak pathogens in the body. So that is a process known as immunization or vaccination, and this immunization or vaccination was first observed by Edward Jenner who developed a vaccine against a very deadly disease, that is chicken pox. And how he was successful in doing that? At that time, chicken pox was spreading as a very strong epidemic. Number of persons have lost their life, and once if treated also, it may leave the bad scars on the face and other parts of the body. So that was very deadly disease, and no healthy person was willing to come closer and to take care of the diseased person. So then Jenner realized that those persons who have already suffered from smallpox and could survive, they were those who could go close to the patients of chickenpox and take care of them. Then he realized might be their body has already developed immunity against these microorganisms. Otherwise, what he has seen that the milkman from the surrounding areas who had already suffered from cowpox, which was a disease quite similar to that of chickenpox, they had very few chances of developing chickenpox. So what he did, Jenner, he took the dried skin piece of the diseased person and deliberately rubbed into the skin of the healthy person in order to introduce that pathogens in the body of healthy persons, so that their immune system once identifies that pathogens and gets activated. Next time, when these pathogens really enter into the body, the immune system is already known to it and gets activated very quickly, preventing the person from getting the disease. In this way, the process of vaccination and immunization was observed, and this vaccination and immunization can be given orally or maybe in the form of injections or syringes. Very large number of common immunization or vaccination systems are there against number of deadly diseases. For example, you must have heard about BCG vaccine, which is used against the prevention of tuberculosis. Similarly, the vaccines against hepatitis A, hepatitis B are already discovered. Then you must have heard about the big vaccine DPT, which covers the 3 diseases, that is diphtheria, pertussis and tetanus, right? So the nutshell of the chapter is you can have a disease-free, happy and healthy life if you follow some basic principles of your life to maintain hygiene, to develop healthy practices, not to eat junk and unhealthy food, having balanced, nourished diet, and maintaining good physical activities and all, right? So that is all about your chapter, that is how do we follow. Have a nice and healthy life. Goodbye to all of you.